On January 2nd, 2019, the wrestling community lost Mean Gene Okerlund. Born on December 19th, 1942, in Siston, South Dakota, Eugene Arthur Okerlund would go on to entertain millions of wrestling fans for close to 49 years as the preeminent wrestling interviewer simply known as Mean Gene. Okerlund would get his start in 1970 working for Vern Gagne's American Wrestling Association. It was there that he would fill in occasionally for ring announcer and interviewer Marty O'Neill, eventually becoming O'Neill's permanent replacement by the end of the decade. It was also during that time that Jesse the Body Ventura would give him his famous nickname, Mean Gene. In 1984, Okerlund would make his way to the WWF, debuting and becoming their top interviewer for close to a decade. In what many people consider the golden era of wrestling, many of us grew up with Mean Gene interviewing the likes of Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, the Iron Sheik, the Ultimate Warrior, Ric Flair, and many others. His voice is synonymous with this era, and his interviewing style was truly unique. From the SummerSlam sign falling in the background to him yelling at someone to put that cigarette out, you always knew that you were going to see a great interview. And how many of us still to this day can hear Hulk Hogan starting his interviews with, "Let me tell you something, Mean Gene." In 1993, Okerlund left the WWF and would go on to join WCW for the next 8 years. Many will remember his plugging the WCW hotline. He was also the interviewer for the night that many consider the day that wrestling changed forever, July 7th, 1996, when Hulk Hogan joined the NWO. In 2001, after the fall of WCW, he would rejoin the WWE, and his first appearance was the Gimmick Battle Royal during WrestleMania 17 on April 1st, 2001, along with Bobby the Brain Heenan. Okerlund would go on to sign a lifetime contract with the WWE and would be used in many of the productions throughout the years, including pieces for the WWE Network, such as Legends House. He would make his last and final appearance on the WWE TV on January 22nd, 2018, interviewing WWE Champion AJ Styles for the 25th anniversary of Monday Night Raw. He is survived by his wife of 55 years, Jeannie Okerlund, and his two sons. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the Okerlund family. You will be missed, Mean Gene. Ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is scheduled for one fall and is for the Professional Wrestling Almanac Championship. Making his way to the ring, residing in Norco, California, weighing in at Who the Hell Knows. He is the Professional Wrestling Almanac podcast's sexiest man, over 350 pounds, Mike Mayer. And his opponent, residing in Salt Lake City, Utah, weighing in at a spinal injury assisted 265 pounds. He is the Havoc of the Pro Wrestling Almanac podcast, Tristan Hathaway. We're back after a long hiatus. We've decided to pick the podcast up again. How you doing, Tristan?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? Well, no, that's an absolute utter lie. My back problems that we've long documented on this show have exploded. Literally, I have a ruptured disc.
Nice.
I got epidural injections today, so yeah, you really needed to caveat that because I really thought you were rejoicing my disc. I'm really glad.
No, never.
But I got epidural injections into my back today, and they seem to be doing all right. Now my back actually is the thing that hurts the most instead of the nerve pain in my legs. And I'm meeting with a neurosurgeon next Thursday to probably get back surgery. And so a discectomy at the very least, I would imagine, potentially spinal fusion.
Yeah, so, that's not. I've had a couple family I've had a couple family members go through that. It's not fun, but in the long run, they felt so much better.
Well, and it's
So,
actually a really quick recovery. It's
mhm.
like for the discectomy, it's 2 to 4 weeks. And with the fusion, it's another 2 to 4 weeks on top of that. So it's
Yep.
really not that long a recovery. I don't want to have to deal with short-term disability from work. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing one of those. I'm going to be trying to do one of them John Cena recoveries.
Okay. So you're gonna inject some HGH and go to town.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Sounds good. So obviously from the beginning of the show, you guys heard that there's a little bit of a change in the podcast. We
Yeah,
decided to
that and the
change.
fact that we're on video.
Well, that too. That's a first for those of you who are brave enough to stare at our two ugly mugs. Thank you. We appreciate it. Oh, geez. It's like watching you. It's like watching The Hangover every time I see you on a podcast.
Well,
So
yeah, one of these days I will be in the Halloween costume.
you got to do it.
It's gonna
You
happen.
you got to do it. So
It's gonna happen.
towards the tail end of the run we had last year, things were getting a little stale. Things were getting a little tiring for us. Some of the podcasts were going on for way too long, so we kind of took a little hiatus just to kind of take a break, refresh, and we've come up with a new format on how we're going to do things. And the first thing that we're going to do is a 10-minute lightning round where we are going to have multiple topics throughout this segment, anywhere between 4 to 5, and we have a 10-minute time limit. Kind of a back and forth, almost like a wrestling match, hence the introductions at the beginning. And
That's why. Oh, I get it now.
there you go. That's why.
I was very.
So, so
Why do you want my weight?
yep, that's that. There you go. So once that's done, we're gonna continue, kind of like we used to with the Ghosts of Wrestling Past, but
That seemed to be about one of our pretty much our most popular, the one we enjoyed the most.
It was. And so what we've decided to do is we've decided that on the day that the podcast is going to drop, which is going to be on
It's no longer going to
Sundays.
be the Ghosts of Wrestling
No,
Past.
it's
It's
not.
going to be on this day in wrestling history.
And we're going to try to keep it to whatever day the podcast is going to drop on. That's the day that we're going to do our review. So for today, since this is going to be airing on January 6th, we are going to do the 2014 Monday Night Raw old school. Yes. So that is going to be our This Day in Wrestling segment for this week. So
surprisingly relevant given one of the topics.
That is true.
One of the segments.
That is true. So, all right. Well, let's get this started. We're going to start off with our lightning round matches. The way this is going to work is there's going to be a 10-minute time limit. Tristan's going to have a timer going, and we're just going to discuss the topic. We may agree, we may disagree. Don't really know, but
we never agree.
Well, I mean, it depends. We agree on some stuff.
Yeah, but I tend to play devil's advocate just to make you argue your point.
That is true. So,
round one, fight.
All right, guys. Well, the first topic that we're going to go over 2 weeks ago, after the last pay-per-view of the year, the McMahon family comes out on Monday Night Raw and says that there are going to be major changes in the WWE universe. We are, in fact, going to be the authority. I wrote an op-ed on our page, ProWrestlingAlmanac.com, about my thoughts on it. So the question is, do you think we are the authority now, or was it just lip service to shut us up?
Timer's on.
All right.
So, when have we not been the authority?
I would say the fact that for maybe 4 years we've had Roman Reigns shoved down our throat, even though we didn't want him.
But how many? I mean, he won it. How many times did he beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? How many times he got bumped back to the Intercontinental title? He got bumped back to the United States title. Finn Balor. The authority. The fans have decided who the champion was going to be, who the top guys were going to be, going all the way back to Hulk Hogan being in the AWA and Vince McMahon deciding that he was going to bring him over because he was so popular.
You know what? No, I'm sorry. You can't say that 100% because here's the thing. Yeah, the fans in the long run maybe have a say in it, but it's Vince deciding who he's going to get behind to give the push, and hopefully the fans take it. And literally for Roman, for the last 4 years, the fans have been saying, we don't want him. And he goes on and he main events WrestleMania, what was it, 2 years in a row or was it three?
5 or 4. He main evented 31 through 34, dude.
Okay, so 31,
4.
4 years. The people don't want him.
Well, I have to disagree with that as well because at a house show, he is extraordinarily over.
Okay.
And I've been to several house shows that he has headlined, and he has been very over with the majority of the audience.
Once again, though, you and I have been talking about this before, and there is a massive difference between a house show, ma and pa, where I can take the kids for tickets as cheap as $20 a person, versus a smarky, nationally televised.
There's your key word, smarky.
No, I agree, but here's the problem. The house show is not what is being shown, and the house show crowds are not what is being shown on TV.
Okay.
And because of that, you are getting a completely different optic. So yeah, he's getting over like no one else's business at house shows. But that's not what's happening on pay-per-views, and that's not what's happening on television.
I wouldn't even say it's the majority of the crowd on pay-per-view and TV that are booing him. I just say it's the loudest people.
Well, when they're having to turn off microphones,
sure, it's the loudest people. I mean, how does that not make sense?
I don't know.
But the fact is, I mean, Vince was dead set on Lex Luger being the man, and he went with Bret Hart because that's who the fans wanted. He went with Shawn Michaels, and then the fans turned on Shawn Michaels, and he'd gone with Sid, and then Steve Austin, I think, is one of the best examples, along with The Rock, Mankind. These are guys that were not Vince's guys. Well, The Rock was, but
yeah.
But Mankind and Steve Austin was basically told when he interviewed with Vince, when he met with Vince after signing, you're a mechanic. You'll probably get as high as the Intercontinental title.
I just look at everything recently, and I'm just trying to sit here and go, they're panicking. I mean, here it is. You got Finn Balor win the Universal Championship, loses it the next night because of an injury, and virtually has not been anywhere near main event status since then. And the crowd would love to see it.
Sure.
Whether or not it's the Demon or if it's just Finn Balor.
Maybe they think they can't trust him.
I don't know. I just see, JR was talking about it on his podcast, that something's going on, because when you cannot sell out Madison Square Garden for a house show the day after Christmas, which for years was a guaranteed sellout, something is going on.
But at the end of the day, they're still making money hand over fist.
I get it.
So from a business sense, what they're doing is working.
There's a part of me that thinks and I said it in the op-ed, that what I truly think happens is that Vince is basically giving us all right, you're in charge. We're going to give you what you want. And when it doesn't work, I can finally sit there and say, I told you so.
Yeah, but I mean, are they giving you what you want? They went and said that, and then it was the same old, same old. So the thing is like, do we want more McMahons on TV?
I would say less, truthfully.
I would say none. Bring back, I'm not saying that they need to go back to the days when the matches were just there. Yeah, no, you don't need Jack Tunney and all of that.
Yeah.
But when Mick Foley, for example, was the commissioner, he was not omnipresent.
Yeah. Well, I think
he was there when he needed to be, and then he wasn't there when he didn't need to be.
I think a great example of that we have seen recently was Paige. I think Paige was a great general manager.
So was Daniel Bryan.
she did what she needed to do. And I mean, now the reason she's off of television is because her movie is getting ready to come out. She needs to be going around and doing a lot of the promoting for it, the interviews.
Is that the reason?
That is the reason they are saying why she was taken off of television, is because she is going to be on the road a lot for that. But I think Paige did a great job as a general manager. My dad has been a baseball referee for close to 30 years, and he's always said the best referees are the ones that you don't notice, because
I've said that on this show.
Yeah, they're so good at their job, you don't need to see them.
The referees in the wrestling ring
I
not
think
supposed to be visible unless there's part of the storyline. So I 100% agree with your dad on that.
Yeah, I just think a less is more approach is better. I want to see them get back to a more wrestling-based show. Cut the sport entertainment stuff. I mean,
that's not WWE though.
Well, it is to a certain extent. I mean, when you and I were growing up, when we were watching Superstars, there wasn't a lot of the gimmicky stuff that we see now. I mean, you had segments and you had interviews, but they were short.
Had Doink the Clown and Saba Simba and El Matador.
I'm not talking about the wrestling portion. I'm just talking about, these
30-minute Steamboat breathe fire, dude.
That is true. Well, I mean, there's already talk about it that when Raw moves to Fox, when SmackDown moves to Fox next year, Fox has basically told the WWE, we want a more sports oriented show. We want less entertainment and we want more wrestling.
I didn't read it like that. I read it that they want more of a sports presentation to fit in with the rest of their sports programming block. And that's what I think we're gonna get, is we're going to get guest commentators from other sports, as things of that nature. That's where your Daniel Cormier's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And things of that nature. I think that's what we're gonna get from Fox. Not necessarily a change in product.
Okay. Well,
I could be way off though.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at it more along the lines of, we want less of the New Day throwing pancakes and all of that stuff to more of similar to like an NXT.
Speaking of the New Day throwing pancakes, did you know that Mr. Booty'sworth is Dewey Foley?
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's funny.
So anyway,
but getting back to it, I'm thinking more along the lines of an NXT style show.
Mm-hmm.
NXT does a great job in the 1 hour they have. More about the wrestling, more of a wrestling oriented. It reminds me of a Mid-South wrestling show when you watch it. The crowd. It reminds me of a Mid-South show. Very, very wrestling oriented. Yeah, the crowd is involved, but I don't really see the crowd. It's not about the crowd, the signs, the 25 Kevin Dunn cutaways, and the replays that are being shown in some of the worst opportune moments, while they then got to show another replay to show us what we missed because they were showing a replay over what happened.
Right. No, I totally get what you're saying. So. And it's the bottom line here is
round 2. Fight.
All right, guys. Our next topic is going to be something that kind of ties into with us being the authority. Is the time for part-time wrestlers over in the WWE?
You go ahead and start this one, buddy.
I'm getting tired of it, truthfully.
Okay.
I'm tired of Brock Lesnar. Now, while I see value in Brock Lesnar as a wrestler, the thing that pisses me off more than anything, Yes, the champ does not need to be on television week in and week out. It diminishes the attraction. I get that. But when I am watching consistent pay-per-views and the Universal Championship is not being defended 12 times a year, there's something wrong with the part-time wrestlers.
Well, I can agree with that in that with Paul Heyman being Brock Lesnar's advocate, Brock doesn't need to be on TV at all. Paul Heyman can go in there, hype the match. Brock could maybe appear once or twice a year before SummerSlam, before WrestleMania, but the feuds can be built with Paul Heyman, and that was proven with the build to WrestleMania with Roman Reigns.
Yes.
So I can agree that Brock should be wrestling on at least more pay-per-views, if not all. And however, I can't say that the era of part-timers is over. What I can say, and this kind of ties into our wrestling history segment, is that I think the era of part-timers / legends and Hall of Famers getting over at the expense of the current talent needs to stop.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say.
And so seeing Jake the Snake Roberts hit a DDT on Dean Ambrose, I think the best example in recent history was when, with all of the teams destroying the Ascension.
Yes.
And completely ruining this team that NXT had built up as monsters just because they wanted to have a comedic spot and let these legends get one last hurrah.
Well, there was a rumor going around that The Rock was going to come in, possibly win the Royal Rumble, and then go on to headline WrestleMania 35 this year. And, you know, I'm just getting to the point where, yes, maybe there is still a place for part-timers to come in as enhancement talent, possibly.
Just attractions.
Exactly. Because, I mean, yes, The Rock draws money. I mean, you can't say that he doesn't. He does. He draws it at both the box office for wrestling and he draws it on the big screen.
But why not put The Rock against Triple H?
Yes. That,
you know, like
I did not, as much as I did not want to see Shawn Michaels come back and wrestle after having been out as long as he did.
He was the only one who looked good in that match, though.
I agree. But what I'm saying is, at least he wrestled 3 other part-timers. It wasn't Shawn Michaels coming back or to face AJ Styles for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania.
And winning.
Exactly.
And if Shawn Michaels was to face AJ Styles for the WWE Championship or Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship, it would have to happen at TLC or Hell in a Cell or Royal Rumble, not wrestling.
It would have to be a gimmick match.
Well, no, not necessarily. It just would have to happen at a pay-per-view that didn't have as much exposure.
Okay.
You get the Rock to come in for WrestleMania. That's great. Have the Rock come in. Have the Rock wrestle Triple H. Have the Rock wrestle John Cena. Have the Rock wrestle The Undertaker. Have the Rock wrestle somebody.
The Rock coming in
hurt by being beaten, and does not get hurt by him then it does not hurt the Rock by beating him.
Well, I mean, The Rock coming in at WrestleMania a few years ago and squashing Eric Rowan. I mean,
well, that actually didn't bother me because it got the Wyatt family on the card and they picked the least relevant. If you did it to Bray Wyatt, it probably would have bothered me.
Well, and that's the thing. I just in this era of wrestling, with the roster being as deep as it is,
over 200 people.
Exactly. I mean, there are guys that should be having main event shots. EC3, Samoa Joe, countless people.
Not EC3, but go on.
Well, but EC3 could okay, but maybe not a main event, i.e., like Universal or but he could definitely be in an IC championship spot.
I was on the train of him being the first North American champion strictly because his name brought a level of gravitas that I didn't feel Adam Cole or Ricochet did.
No, that's true.
But then again, we're talking the NXT audience, and they absolutely do in that instance.
Yeah. So, I mean, my biggest thing is with the roster being as deep as it is, I'm tired of seeing these part-timers come in and be relevant to come in and be relevant in beating this younger talent.
Yeah, and that's always been a problem. When you would have go back to 2005, Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam. Now, does it really matter that Shawn Michaels lost that match?
No.
Not at all. However, Shawn Michaels stuck around for another 5 years after that, and Hulk Hogan was on a plane the next day back to Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
By
the way, one of the funniest matches I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Watching
Shawn Michaels showing his ass through the whole match like that. Oh yeah.
That was just beautiful.
Fast forward a year. Hulk Hogan versus Randy Orton. Now Randy Orton's a made man.
Yep.
Like he's a Hall of Famer, first ballot. He's a 12-time world champion. The guy's maybe 13-time now. I don't even know. And
I think 13, yeah.
I think 13 with his last title win last year. But where would he be if he'd have gotten that win over Hulk Hogan?
Oh,
look what it did to Brock Lesnar.
Well, exactly.
You've got The Undertaker was willing to job for him when he was active. Mick Foley came back to do the job for him.
Yeah.
But not Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
The Hulk Hogan that tapped for Kurt Angle, the Hulk Hogan that got destroyed by Brock Lesnar, the Hulk Hogan that was beaten by The Rock twice, couldn't lay down for Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that when his gimmick was the Legend Killer.
Well,
although I'm still upset that he never turned on his dad.
That would have been great too. So
you notice he's kind of doing that gimmick now again, where he's going after the heroes.
Yeah.
So I really like it. So he's the Legend Killer again.
And I'm fine with that. I just think
it comes full circle.
You want to bring these legends back. You want to get these legends a payday. You want to get these legends in a ring. Fine. That's great. Let them wrestle each other, and stop using them to squash the younger talent.
For sure.
Or help them get the younger talent over.
Yeah.
I mean,
think back to a few years ago on an Old School when Heath Ledger had been repeatedly getting beaten by legends and been calling out legends and embarrassing them.
You mean he ended up
Heath Slater. What did I say? Heath Ledger? Heath Slater.
Okay.
Yeah. The other Joker.
Mm-hmm.
He's got kids. He got squashed by Sid, I think Rikishi, DDP,
yeah,
and Lita.
Mm-hmm.
And it was entertaining, and Heath Ledger did not lose anything because he didn't have anything Heath Slater did not lose anything because he didn't have anything to lose. He was already dead. I mean, what?
Too soon.
It's been 10 years.
It's still too
make
soon.
A joke about it.
Come on, you make a joke about Lincoln, and it can be considered too soon to some people.
So, anyway, I'm in agreement that part-timers should not be beating full-timers at the frequency at which they do.
Yeah.
However, they do have their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's to come in and pop a quick buy rate or to come in and put another talent over, i.e. Sting with Triple H, even though that was kind of silly, but whatever. I think that, or Goldberg, seriously, they used Goldberg perfectly because they did him with, him squashing Kevin Owens sucked.
Exactly.
But they did Goldberg with putting him almost exclusively with Brock Lesnar. It was great.
Except that was fine. But once again, to get to that point, he had to squash someone who hasn't been relevant really since then. I mean, I understand injuries and everything, but still.
Yeah, well, and then there's the rumor.
Round 3. Fight!
All right, guys. Our next topic, some people love her, some people hate her. I think she's the best thing in wrestling there is right now. We're going to talk, is Becky Lynch truly the man?
How can you say otherwise? First of all, she calls herself the man. So, like, in this culture of self-identification that we have, she has to be the man, number one. I mean, she says she is, so she is. Number one. Number two, she's proven it again and again and again. Yes, she needs to work on her promos, but she's getting a lot better. Like, she's really, really good. She's not quite at the level of Charlotte yet.
No.
But, I mean, look at those jeans, man. Come on. So if you're, she's literally like her father reincarnate, and or figuratively, because yeah, and who would have ever thought?
Becky?
I mean, really? No, Charlotte. But yeah, Charlotte would be her father reincarnate.
Oh,
but the thing is, like I've said before, last year, post WrestleMania, pre WrestleMania, I said that the first women to main event WrestleMania would be at WrestleMania 35, and it would be Charlotte and Ronda Rousey. And that Charlotte would be the horse pulling the carriage by that point. And boy, was I wrong.
Well,
you got two horses pulling that carriage, Charlotte and Becky. And this really harkens back to the Austin Rock era for me, in that you've got two all-time greats sitting side by side, competing head to head. And it's fantastic. It's good for us.
Yeah, no, it's great for us. I've always been a Becky Lynch fan. I've thought she's got it. She's got a unique thing about her.
The accent. It's the same. It's the same thing with Sheamus. It's why Sheamus is popular. It's the accent. It's the red hair. She's exotic without being foreign. And I don't say that from my own perspective, but there is a very, very innate xenophobic, jingoistic mindset that just falls into people naturally. And because she's freaking Irish, she's not threatening.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm loving it. The promo she cut on John Cena was absolutely priceless. Throwing him out of the ring was absolutely great. And then in that house show, she hits the stunner.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was just something to pop the crowd. But,
of course. I don't think
I really would be unhappy if she started using that. But I don't think it would be a bad idea for her to start incorporating like a disaster kick or something like that in with maybe something she can hit quickly to pop the crowd out of nowhere. That's why the stunner was so good. That's why the RKO is so popular.
Yeah,
because like out of nowhere, off a shooting star press, out of a curb stomp, like it's just still ridiculous.
But still the greatest RKO ever.
The curb stomp?
Yeah.
Kidding me? Better than the freaking shooting star press?
I totally think that. Yeah.
Wow.
I do.
You are high on certain illegal substances, sir.
Maybe illegal in your state, not illegal in mine anymore.
That's true.
It's one of the only pluses of living in the
even though they legalized it, it will continue to be illegal in my state.
Well, everything. I think having fun is going to be illegal in your state for a while.
And the intro to basketball.
Yep.
And the New Orleans Jazz moved from New Orleans to Salt Lake City, where they
have no jazz.
Where they don't allow music.
Yes, they don't. Music.
Where they don't allow music.
So yeah, no, I'm loving everything. The thing that worries me, and I think we can all see where this is going, is that the main event at WrestleMania is gonna be Ronda, Charlotte, Becky.
Maybe.
That's what I think they're leaning towards.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
I would personally like to just see Ronda and Becky.
Yeah, I would too. So my thought is Becky wins the Rumble. I could see them going with co-winners. I could. But my thought is Becky wins the Rumble, challenges Ronda. Charlotte wins an Elimination Chamber #1 contendership match or something along those lines, and challenges Asuka and faces Asuka.
And then we basically get Charlotte winning the championship, Becky winning the championship, and we can get Survivor Series, if they hold the titles long enough, champion versus champion at Survivor Series.
I'm pretty certain that next year at Survivor Series we're getting horsewomen versus horsewomen.
Which I'm good with that too.
They need to do it before too long, but they need to not do it too soon as well, because Jessamine Duke is greener than horse shit.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon my language, people.
Now it's kind of funny because we were just talking about part-timers. Do you think that to help Becky's character a little bit, now his doctors just said that he's been cleared to take bumps again. Doesn't mean he should. But do you think that Ric Flair should have a confrontation with Becky and basically say, you want to call yourself the man, but in order to be the man, you got to beat the man? And she basically...
Oh, Lord. No.
You know what I'm saying, though?
No, I don't. Okay. Only if she just slaps the ever-loving... If she slaps the freaking white out of his hair. That's the only way that I will accept.
Yeah, I'm not talking a match or anything. I'm talking about he basically comes in and just starts talking crap, and she basically slaps him, throws him out of the ring.
Hits the disarmer on him. Charlotte comes to the rescue.
And she beats the crap out of Charlotte.
Well, I mean, maybe. I think we're kind of past that point.
I'm just saying.
I think that would have been a good thing post whatever the hell pay-per-view was right after SummerSlam. Hell in a Cell? Was it Hell in a Cell? Or
Hell in a Cell was in September.
I don't even know. So yeah, I mean, I think we've passed the point where that is relevant, necessary, enjoyable. At this point, it would just be Becky Lynch beating up an old man.
Yeah,
and she has been established. The fact and the fact that they put her over John Cena tells you everything you need to know about where the company is on Becky Lynch.
That is true.
And so, just like when Hell in a Cell last year, when Roman Reigns came out on top against John Cena, tells you everything you need to know about where John Cena was, vice where Roman Reigns was. Now, I'm not saying that Becky Lynch is a bigger name than John Cena. I'm not saying that the WWE even views her right now as a bigger name than John Cena. However, Becky Lynch is the flag bearer for the WWE right now. And I just hope that she realizes the significance of what she has accomplished.
I think she does. Well, because this is someone who has, just from everything that I've seen, she keeps a very good job at keeping her personal life separate from wrestling. She does a great job keeping that break. That's
not what I'm talking about.
No, but it's kind of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I think she respects the business enough to where I think she truly understands the magnitude of what's going on.
This wasn't a glass ceiling. This was a brick wall.
Yeah.
That the women were never going to break through. And you had major holes put into this brick wall. Sasha and Bayley, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair,
Asuka,
and Asuka, yes. And then all of a sudden, Becky Lynch busts through this thing like Superman.
Oh, like a Sherman tank.
Yeah, comes through on the other side, looking like $1 million, with blood running down her face. And
it's almost like Austin.
It's exactly like Austin, except for one thing. It wasn't planned.
Yes.
It was much more similar to Austin 316.
Yes, exactly.
Than it was WrestleMania 13 because there wasn't a match involved.
Exactly. So, All right, man. Well, that's it for this one. Let's get on to the next topic.
Round 4. Fight!
All right, guys. Last topic for the evening. It is one of the bigger pieces of wrestling news to come out in a while. Looks
Probably
like,
since Daniel Bryan returned to the ring.
Yeah.
I would say that's not death related.
Well, exactly. All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah. So,
I mean, okay. Is it really going to happen? Is it really going to be successful?
well, it's gonna happen.
Well, they're
Um,
making all of these announcements, but they don't even, as of right now, to anybody's knowledge, have a TV contract.
No, they don't have a TV contract, but they didn't have a TV contract before, and they literally sold out whatever arena it was in suburban Chicago, about 45 minutes from Chi-Town.
Mm-hmm.
They sold it out on YouTube. Like they sold it out because from their freaking YouTube, and that being the Elite show.
Yeah.
So the thing, a terrestrial TV deal is very much a thing of the past. Is that your dog or my dog?
Mine.
It's very much a thing of the past in that it's not necessary. Like I don't understand why Impact is hanging all of they're putting all of their bricks on a new TV deal when
Because
they can easily take that Pursuit Network thing and then parlay that with maybe get some syndication, maybe get some put some stuff on the Global Wrestling Network, throw stuff up on YouTube. More people watch freaking YouTube than anything else.
Yeah, I just think the problem with TNA is that the people running TNA are kind of too set in the old school mentality of the way that wrestling needs to be done.
Well, I mean, they're doing a great job with it. But as far as All Elite Wrestling goes, they've got whatever it is, Samir Khan or Shaka Khan or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
The guy
well, Tony Khan.
Tony Khan. I'm just gonna call him Shaka Khan. It's my thing.
Tony Khan is the president. He's the son of Shahid Khan, who is the Jacksonville Jaguars co-owner.
Right. And so they've got the money.
They do. I mean,
he, pardon the pun, appears to be all in on it.
Well, he is a big wrestling fan, or so it's being said.
Now, the thing that's getting me is they just signed Brandy Rhodes as chief brand officer as well as a wrestler. Mm-hmm. Cody and the Young Bucks are executive vice presidents and going to be full-time wrestlers.
One Hangman Page
is signed, and more than likely SoCal Uncensored, which is Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky are going to be signed.
There are three big names.
Britt Baker is another one.
Yeah.
A really good female talent that, if I remember correctly, just had a baby.
Yeah,
but
well,
I could be wrong about that.
There are three other names being floated around as possible signees with AEW pretty soon.
Yeah, Kenny Omega is one of them.
Well, okay, so four. Sorry, I forgot about Omega because supposedly the WWE has a very large.
They're making a big play for him, and they're probably gonna get him. He's 35 years old. If he wants to cement a legacy as a mainstream star, that he needs to go to the WWE. Otherwise, if he's enjoying what he's doing, and enjoys being known only to the diehards, then more power to him.
More power to him.
But
the other names that are being thrown around, what everybody is considering the biggest free agent in all of wrestling right now, Chris Jericho.
Sure.
There is talk.
Chris Jericho's so far past his prime, though.
I get it.
I think that would be a bad signing.
The other one that's talking about possibly signing with AEW because he's been mentioning it a lot on his Twitter pages is Goldberg.
No, Goldberg's not going to AEW. If he does, it won't be as a wrestler.
No, I get that. And then the other one that everybody's talking about, not a wrestler, of course, it would be on the commentating side, would be good old JR.
JR, yeah.
Because his contract
today, and I didn't see anything about it, but yeah, his contract's up in March.
Yeah, his contract is up in March, and he is not. He has not re-signed with Access TV, so
Well,
he
he
will
could
not be doing
resign
Wrestle
with
Kingdom
He
this year.
could not resign with Access TV.
Yeah,
WWE did not let him.
well, exactly. That was, but you know what? Do you really think that if there was the possibility that he was going to sign with AEW, you really think he was going to fight that one too hard?
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is that it doesn't matter. Like, it does not matter whether if he's going to sign with AEW, he's going to have to do so after his WWE contract
No. I
expires.
get that, but what I'm saying
So,
is, if he wasn't going to sign with AEW,
oh, why would he be fighting the Access thing?
exactly. You know, he didn't really put up a big deal about that. He basically said, "Hey, it is what it is, and I'm not going to be able to do anything."
It's business. You know what? To be quite honest, they're better for it. He's not very good at calling Japanese wrestling. He messes up the names, messes up the moves. He's what, 67 years old?
He turned 67 this year.
Yeah, so he's just, or end of last year.
No. He says he's getting ready to celebrate. It's his 67th birthday this year.
Okay. So then he just had it.
Yeah.
I saw something about it. Anyway,
I mean, I think
Jim Ross is a bad idea. If I'm the Bucks and Cody or whoever is in charge of talent acquisition for this company, I'm making a play for Mauro Ranallo if I can get him, because he's the best play-by-play guy in the business right now.
hands down.
Yeah, without question. And so if I can get him, I would get him. You've got some good guys in Ring of Honor. Ian Riccaboni is really good. Kevin Kelly has come so far over the last 20 years.
He
He's
has.
a top guy. But
Kevin, what about Josh Matthews?
Josh Matthews is oh no, sorry, I was thinking Josh Barnett. Josh Matthews is pretty good.
Yeah.
Josh Matthews is pretty good. He is nowhere near the level of these other guys, but he has gotten
gotten very good from where he started.
Like, even if you could get your hands on a Mike Tenay, but at the same time, why Mauro Ranallo is the commentator of now.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you want yesterday's guys? Why not try to get guys from today? This is what we were talking about with the whole part-timer thing. Why are you gonna let JR get put over the likes of Kevin Kelly or Ian Riccaboni or Mauro Ranallo? Not that any of these guys are actually in the discussion, but
if anything, I think you sign JR not for commentary. You sign JR for, a titled position, someone who's involved with possible storyline writing and helping shape some new broadcasters.
Now see, there you go. All of the other stuff, I think he has outlived his usefulness with those things. But as far as being able to train other broadcasters, when you listen to his book, he talks about how his dad used to have him commentate football and baseball games.
Yes.
Mostly just for his own entertainment.
Yeah.
He liked hearing this little kid calling moves and not moves, but you know what I mean, calling plays.
Yeah, plays.
And but he learned from his dad and then from Bill Watts how to call sports. And I think that that's the important thing, is that if AEW is going to make a go of it, they need to succeed where Impact failed, in that they need to be an actual alternative. They need to be a different product.
I think the other thing is, though, too, and it was the reason why I think Impact failed, and where I think AEW will succeed, AEW can afford to eat some pretty big losses.
Dude, Impact had Panda Energy, man. Come on now. Like you
know what? Dixie's family did not want to bankroll it like.
Yeah, but they did. For
not
years.
to the. Yeah, but not to the true extent where they could have really salvaged it. I mean, for it selling what
They
it
couldn't
sold for.
salvage it because of what they kept doing, not because of the amount of money they put in.
I just think
They
having
brought in
Cody.
Hulk Hogan well after his prime. They brought in Booker T, Kevin Nash, Foley, Scott Steiner, Raven well after his prime, Tommy Dreamer. They did an ECW pay-per-view that they didn't have any rights to. They were calling Balls Mahoney Cajones. All right. So no, AEW needs to be different. They need to be what.
On this day in professional wrestling. All right, guys. So here it is. January 6, 2014, Baltimore, Maryland. Raw is old school. Lot of former WWE legends and Hall of Famers came back for this show. Me personally, watching shows like that, they make me smile. I mean, watching the 25th anniversary edition of Raw made me smile when they did the intro at the Manhattan Center. The
Oh yeah,
Ico Pro, the red, white, and blue ropes, the sirens. I mean, it's like going back and watching my childhood again. You
sure.
know,
I mean,
and
it's too bad that show wound up being a complete dumpster fire.
we won't even go
But
there. But
this show was actually decent.
it
Like
was.
it was better than good.
It
It,
could have gone horribly wrong.
well, this wasn't the first one of these that
No,
they've
it
done.
wasn't. It
and
wasn't.
and so that's kind of why the 25th was so disappointing, is like they've done these before and they should have known better. That's what these old school shows
But
was the Raw anniversary shows.
the difference is that this show was held in one location and not split between two.
Well, they absolutely could have. They could have mitigated that by having a dark card at the Manhattan Center to keep the people entertained while they
I
were
I
there, because we're in the ADD generation, man. You can't keep people's attention watching a screen when they have a screen in their hand.
exactly. So, all right. Well, Raw opened up with Ric Flair coming out.
Yeah, and then
Flair being Ric
cut
Flair.
a Ric Flair promo, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
Randy Orton coming out, doing the Randy Orton thing, World Heavyweight Champion.
Legend
Had some
killer.
pretty, yeah, well, not really then. He was
But no, I
with
mean,
the Authority though.
yeah.
And I mean he's kind of, but he put it down on Flair. Said Flair was a has been, and Orton was better than Flair ever was, and all of that fun stuff.
Yep. And then Cena comes in
Uh-huh.
to defend Nate, and you know, it was good. It wasn't great.
Yeah, no, it was good, and I liked Cena going retro a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. He had more of his word life thugonomics
Mm-hmm.
persona on, which was good.
Yep.
And I just, I don't know. It's set up for the Royal Rumble, and that was fine, but it I don't know. It first segment of Raw.
Yeah.
It went on for way too long.
Like most first
So I
segments of
say
Raw.
first segment of Raw.
Yeah. And so then we get an update on Jerry the King Lawler's health as to why he wasn't there,
Yeah, because this
which,
is after
you know,
in
in
several
the
months
long
after
run,
he
when
had
I
his
start
grab.
thinking about it going back, you know, it was sad that he wasn't there because it was what ended up being his son's last performance on Monday Night Raw.
Right. I
You
mean,
know,
but I mean at the
I
same
know,
time,
I know.
it's funny
This
because
is
he
a
wasn't there
Monday
because of the
morning
stomach
quarterback
virus.
looking back, you know.
Of course. But yeah, he was out because of the stomach virus, but they were addressing it because after him having his grabber, it was very concerning.
Mm-hmm.
And
So,
can we just veer for just a second and talk about the fact that Michael Cole really is great at his job,
he
because of
is.
when Jerry Lawler had his heart attack.
Oh,
He
yeah.
um he covered down so well, and it was
Yeah. No,
The man is a professional.
he is. Whether or not the WWE has used him in that quote unquote professional role all the time can be debated, but he does a good
when
job.
he was getting wedgies from DX.
Mm-hmm.
Now remember, this is the guy who's a field reporter in frickin' Bosnia,
Yeah.
and they've got him getting wedgies from DX.
Although I do have to admit, I did love the JBL Frosted Tips reference, and Michael Cole going, "That was just a long time ago."
When he said he was younger and skinnier, young and thin,
Yeah.
and he talked about the frosted tips, and then he called them skinny fat. And
Yep.
yeah, that was fun. I like the hip hop twins thing when JBL just would not let it go. They were never called the hip hop twins. That did not happen.
Yeah.
You just say things and you state them as facts.
And that was, you know what,
and you state them as facts.
And that was, I love how everything was old school. Our old school table.
Oh man, them wearing the Vince McMahon jackets.
Those were classic, and
that's why JBL with his Vince McMahon bouffant.
Oh my god, that was hilarious. So first match of the evening, we had Rey Mysterio and the Usos defeating the Wyatt family with Daniel Bryan.
Well, he was part of the Wyatt family.
Yep.
He was doing the Daniel Wyatt thing.
Yep.
And see, this is one of those angles that it actually could have been quite good. And I think that this would have turned into what Randy Orton's was. They just recycled it when Randy Orton was part of the Wyatt family last year. Mm-hmm. And I mean, but Randy Orton, all Randy Orton did was wear a vest. Like Daniel Bryan went full steam with it. He was wearing blue coveralls, looking like Eric Rowan. And like, I'm interested to see where they would have gone with it if the crowd didn't revolt. Mm-hmm. Because the crowd revolution against what ended up being Daniel Bryan not appearing in the Royal Rumble killed this angle and ended up with getting us to WrestleMania 30.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was a fantastic show, a fantastic moment. But I really would have liked to have seen where this angle would have gone, just aside from anything else. If they could have done WrestleMania 30 and this angle like at separate times, that would have been great, because Daniel Bryan has really grown as an all-around performer since his indie days, and since he first showed up in WWE. He was not a promo guy.
No.
And he is arguably one of the best promo guys now. So,
not a big fan of his current character right now. But...
Oh, I enjoy it. And did want to note that when they were talking about Daniel Bryan joining the Wyatt family, and JBL kept pestering Michael Cole about whether or not he respected Daniel Bryan, Cole wouldn't answer.
Yeah.
And it was a very good callback to the history between Daniel Bryan and Michael Cole, and how Michael Cole did not like Daniel Bryan and called him a nerd and hated him.
Oh yeah.
And so I thought that was well done. Very good commentary on JBL's part and Michael Cole's part. For they played their roles exactly as they should have.
Mm-hmm. Next match of the evening, we had.
From there, we did go into a backstage segment between Brad Maddox and Kane, director of operations. Kane,
that's right,
the whole authority thing, and Brad Maddox trying to get Kane fired, so he could be director of operations, and Kane not threatening Brad Maddox with violence, as that would get him removed from his role, but basically telling him the possibilities of things that could happen were he to become fired.
Yeah.
And the director of operations version of Kane was pretty interesting. I liked that they were separate characters.
Yes.
You basically had Kane, and then you had Glenn Jacobs, even though he was going by Kane. It's just that the director of operations is the guy who is mayor now.
That is true.
So, yeah.
IC match between Biggie Langston defeating Curtis Axel. It was what it was.
Yeah, Ryback is terrible on the mic.
Ryback has always been terrible. Yeah. He's been terrible on the mic. He's been terrible in the ring. He's been terrible at wrestling.
Yeah, but he invented everything. So
that's right.
Ryback invented the internet, right?
He did. He did. Ryback also invented wrestling too, and created the WWE.
Oh wow! Ryback, like Vince McMahon, was birthed out of like some clone off of his back.
I guess so.
One thing we did skip was the Hall of Famers in the hallway. The little appearance from Nikolai Volkov singing the Russian national anthem randomly, and then Ted DiBiase just shouting at Big E, "Everybody has a price," and then Erwin Arsheister telling him, "But you better pay your taxes." And in my mind, like, it was funny, it was entertaining. It's always fun that when those guys show up, especially like IRS shows up, he always ends up like being very, very much in character and then acting silly.
Yeah.
And it's a riot, like WrestleMania when he started dancing. But it just the fact that they were just standing around randomly in a hallway made them seem like insane.
Why was Nikolai Volkov just standing there singing the Russian national anthem? There wasn't even a Russian flag.
Well, no, he had the Soviet flag.
I know.
He was wearing his old jacket, but it was his jacket from when he was a good guy. So he had the Soviet flag and the American flag on it. So it didn't make any sense.
I know. So,
oh goodness.
And the next segment,
I've met IRS, by the way.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Nice.
Yeah. He had a nice long talk with him. He destroyed a family myth. It was pretty special. I think we've talked about this on this show.
We have.
Quite a while ago.
So next segment after that, arguably one of my all-time favorite wrestlers of all time, and one of the greatest men on a microphone in the history of wrestling, Piper's Pit.
Oh, sorry.
You just turn around and go for even suggesting that Roman Reigns is good on a microphone.
I'm not going to do
that. So this is the Roman Reigns that I don't have a problem with.
Oh, and why would you? I mean, the Silent Assassin didn't say anything until he was basically provoked by Piper. And then what he said was short and sweet and to the point.
Exactly. And he wasn't overproduced. Mm-hmm. He wasn't,
suffering succotash.
Yes, exactly. So, if this is the Roman Reigns that comes back, I'm fine.
If he comes back.
If he comes back. I mean,
when you talk about Roman Reigns coming back, God, I want that to be his Die Rocky Die moment. Mm-hmm. Where he turns on the crowd, because they're gonna love him. They're gonna be cheering for him. And he turns on the crowd. Oh, you like me now?
Mm-hmm.
And he could go. He could come back as the biggest face and immediately be the biggest heel. And then even more so become the biggest face when the crowd finally turned him.
Hands down.
If he maintained the same attitude.
Yeah.
So
get into that. Piper, who and let's be honest, Piper did not look good.
No, but I mean, Piper looked fine. He's just old, dude.
I know.
But watch it with him and Dean Ambrose going back and forth on the mic, man. Dean Ambrose can work a mic. I'll tell you what.
Yes,
he might have actually lost a couple of steps since his Shield days.
Possibly.
But he used to be something else, man.
Yeah.
I remember watching him in FCW and getting that Heath Ledger Joker vibe. The Heath Slater Joker vibe.
Oh, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Sure. So, and then the Road Dogg.
Always steal my jokes right after I say them.
The Road Dogg and Badass come out.
I just saw the clip. Somebody posted a clip of this on Twitter, and I couldn't tell that CM Punk was CM Punk when he came running out with the Outlaws. I was like, trying to figure that out. And Sean Waltman says this is Billy running at quarter speed so he doesn't completely blow out the other two. And I believe that. And then he slides into the ring like that dude. Nobody slid into the ring like Billy Gunn. Like, I'm amazed he didn't pull a Titus O'Neil ever and just go sliding out the other side. He almost did in the 95 Royal Rumble. He almost slid all the way out of the ring.
It's true. he would hit that at full tilt, man.
Oh man, and I don't know.
Um,
Like I don't know how he didn't catch that top rope ever. Like that he had that down to a science. He could slide into the ring like Hardcore Holly could drop kick, or Randy Orton could power slam, or
no,
Goldust could power slam, or Randy Orton could drop kick.
that's true. So next match on the card, Alberto Del Rio versus Sin Cara.
Yeah, that was a nothing match.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciated the production value just based off of the fact they went with the darker lighting for the match itself in the ring, tried to eliminate most of the crowd. The match wasn't that great.
It would have been. It wasn't as bad as it could have been if it had been Mystico instead of Hunico. That match would have been awful. Well, maybe not, because wrestling Alberto Del Rio, he could maintain the style. But man, Mystico was just a botch fest.
Yeah.
And Hunico, like, I don't know if that mask is cursed, but he does his fair bit of botching too. Just nothing like Mystico did, man. Holy crap.
Oh, yeah, no,
At least they've got Kalisto now that can Kalisto and Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado that can do the lucha thing without, trying to die.
Basically. And then you got
one thing though, Alberto Del Rio like desperately needed Ricardo Rodriguez. Like the cars, all of that. Like that was what made him when they eliminated that from his gimmick, it made him less interesting.
Yeah.
And so even as a good guy, like he needed that as part of his character. It was his character. That's who he was.
I agree.
He was the ritzy car driving, personal announcer having, kiss stealing, wheeling, dealing son of a gun.
Basically. Mexican Ric Flair.
Yep.
All right. After that, we had the WWE Tag Team match with Cody Rhodes and Goldust defeating the Real Americans.
You haven't had to say Rhodes in a long time. So.
I have not had to say Rhodes in a long time.
Yeah, because since he's now just Cody.
Cody.
Which he says has nothing to do with WWE.
Yeah.
He says that that's just something that he did.
Yeah.
Just being Cody. And like that's cool. I think that's because he doesn't want necessarily Cody Rhodes was a WWE superstar, so he doesn't necessarily want to be identified as that. So that makes sense. Yep. Cody is great in the ring. Cesaro is great in the ring.
Yep.
But good Lord, Goldust is astonishingly good for his age.
Even today, he's still really good.
Well, I mean, that just goes to show you that his moniker actually was true, the natural.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, yeah, he's really good. And to have that's like Brett and Owen, to have two top levels wrestlers in your family, and for them to be so far apart and still they're not similar at all.
Mm-mm.
And yet
two different builds, two different styles of wrestling,
absolutely promo styles,
everything.
Cody got the lisp, Dustin got the size and the look. Dustin looks just like
he looks like a skinnier version of Dusty.
He looks identical to Dusty.
Yeah. All right. Well, after that, we had the Great Khali defeating Damian Sandow with
fan voted Sergeant Slaughter as the
fan voted Sergeant Slaughter as the referee.
Sergeant Slaughter, Arn Anderson, and Bob Backlund.
Yes, and by the way, I love the fact that the referees were wearing the old school blues with the bow tie.
Even Sergeant Slaughter,
and he came out. Slaughter. And the funny thing is, though, he actually came out with an Air Force campaign hat.
Did he really?
His campaign hat he was wearing, if I remember correctly, was a blue campaign hat, not his traditional green.
I doubt that.
It looked blue when he was.
It might have just been your.
Could have been the lighting, who knows? But that was great. And then, of course.
Well, I mean, it was entertaining. I liked the fact that the they were going with the botched referees botching things. I don't know. They only were botching things in Sandow matches. Come on, I think it's a silly gimmick.
And then of course the man who right now is probably the greatest thing on a microphone in any wrestling organization.
Don't forget about the awesome retro intro,
Oh yeah.
because that was great.
Paul Heyman coming out
Paul Heyman
with Lesnar and addressing the crowd. Paul Heyman can just talk.
Well, I mean, Paul Heyman is inextricably, is that correct? Inextricably? He cannot be separated from Brock Lesnar at this point. Putting him with anyone else except maybe Ronda Rousey, because of her background, is a fruitless effort. Paul Heyman is tied to Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar's tied to Paul Heyman. A Brock Lesnar without Paul Heyman is a less interesting Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. No, hands down.
And it's not that he's bad at talking. He's not. It's just his voice is not the best for talking on the mic.
Nope.
And Heyman's is necessary for him because it gives him that larger than life feel which he needs.
Yes.
Could an Andre the Giant heel turn have worked without Bobby Heenan?
It could have, but not as well as it ended up being.
That's what I mean. So Brock Lesnar would still be Brock Lesnar, but not like he is with Paul Heyman.
No, I mean, and it's getting back to what we said in the rapid fire. I mean, Lesnar does not have to show up every week as long as Paul Heyman is there.
And Paul Heyman can play the antagonist to the T. To the point where people are wanting to see the match and to the point where they get angry that they're not seeing Lesnar. But it's not like, I don't know if it's a bad angry or not. Like, are you not going to watch the match now because you didn't get to see Lesnar in the build-up? Probably not.
No,
you might be less inclined to cheer for him and maybe cheer for the other guy, and that's what they were going for with that.
Yeah.
But it gives Brock that feel that I'm too big to be here. I'll show up when I fight, and that's it. You pay me to fight. I show up to fight.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course, the Big Show comes out.
Oh, and Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman have always, since 2002, in every instance, every encounter that they've had with the Big Show, have always managed to make the Big Show look great. Even when Brock ends up destroying him, Big Show looks great coming into the encounter, to the point that you forget that he destroyed him last time. And much like they've done with Braun Strowman when he faces Brock Lesnar, in the build-up, in talking about Braun Strowman getting a title shot. Yeah, there's talk about, Strowman's not believable. He's been ruined. He's been this. He's been that. As soon as you get into the match and he starts manhandling Brock Lesnar, you're just like, yeah, that's the guy. And there's rumors that they're putting the title on him at the Royal Rumble, and it's going to be just fine.
Yeah,
I was on that train that they need to pull the trigger on him soon, or they're going to miss their boat and he's going to become another Big Show getting jobbed out by Jeff Hardy.
Yep.
And it hasn't happened yet. And so because they've managed to make it so Brock Lesnar is the only person that can do that to him.
Exactly.
So but let's go back to the show, the women's match. Bellas versus Naomi and Oksana. Boy, do I love today's women.
Thank you, Becky Lynch and Charlotte
and Sasha and Bayley,
and Bayley
and I mean Natalia, and
as crazy as it sounds, even Alicia Fox today is better than the Alicia Fox from just 4 years ago.
Absolutely. Well,
because the caliber of talent has forced her.
Well, it's not necessarily that they're forcing her to improve. She has improved.
Yeah.
But it's that they make her look better because they're good. It's the same stuff. Bret Hart and Kevin Nash, or Lex Luger for that matter, or Tom McGehee,
or anybody that wrestled with Mr. Perfect.
The bodybuilder that Vince wanted to get over and put him against Bret Hart back in the 80s. He was going to be the next Hogan, and he made this dude look like $1 million. And this dude couldn't tie. Didn't have the coordination to tie his shoes.
Yeah,
Bret Hart made
exactly.
Him amazing. So I'm not saying that we have a bunch of Bret Harts on the women's roster today, because we don't.
Yeah,
We have 5 women that are top echelon as far as talent goes. We only have 4 that are. 5 women that are top echelon as far as talent goes. We only have 4 that are top echelon as far as position goes, and those 4 are Charlotte,
Becky, Asuka,
and
Ronda.
But the 5 that are top echelon talent are the first 3, Sasha and Bayley.
Mm-hmm.
Except Sasha needs to really stop doing suicide dives, because eventually it's going to actually be one.
Oh, yeah.
She's gonna bust that 5 head on the ring, or the concrete, and it's gonna be all over for her.
Yep. And then of course we had after that
ruined any shot of ever getting her as an interview on this show, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because it was such a possibility.
Oh, that close. You were saying there was a chance, buddy. And then of course we had Too Cool for the first time in a long time.
Yes.
Wrestling together, defeating 3MB. And by the way, it's amazing what all natural herbal supplements do to improve physiques of certain wrestlers.
Mahal and McIntyre are... They look like the little kid versions of themselves. They're literal before and after pictures.
It's basically Barry Bonds a la Pittsburgh Pirates to Barry Bonds of the Giants.
Yeah. But here's the thing.
I mean, Mahal looked like he belonged in a Bollywood boy band at that point. I mean,
he was kind of in a Bollywood boy band. No, see, and here's the thing is that Mahal has improved marginally in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas McIntyre has improved vastly
in the ring.
And his attitude has improved vastly. And so, like, I don't care, dude. Juice to the freaking gills.
Oh, I don't either.
If that's what it does it for you, it's not real competition. You know? Although I really don't have a problem with it in real competition either, as long as it's not fighting.
Exactly.
Because you can kill somebody. But the muscle thing doesn't bother me if it's something that gets you ahead. Everybody can do it. Everybody's got to pass the same tests.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're juicing to the gills and you don't get caught, then more power to you. If you found things that you can use that aren't illegal, again, more power to you. But this match was exactly the thing I was talking about with Heath Slater before. Same sort of thing where part-timers coming in and burying people. But at this point, McIntyre and Mahal and Slater had nothing to lose, dude.
Exactly.
Like
this
Kurt
wasn't like when the Ascension made their...
No, not at all.
Exactly.
First of all, it was a competitive match.
Mm-hmm.
So when Too Cool got to get their trademark stuff in, like, it came after a match. The Ascension stuff was a promo.
Yep. Exactly.
And so you bury your guys, you don't give them any kind of heat at all. And then you bury them to guys that are not going to be there tomorrow.
Well,
and I'm channeling my inner CM Punk here. Now, granted, APA and the New Age Outlaws et al. Are not The Rock. So if The Rock, he can come in, be the main event of WrestleMania, and not be there tomorrow, and it's not as upsetting, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then of course, last match of the evening, we had Roman.
Hang on, the Legends and Bad News Barrett.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Legends came out and were all introduced, and then Bad News Barrett did his shtick, which was just kind of meh.
It was mad. The Bad News Barrett shtick was always entertaining, but
Yeah.
It
really didn't work for this.
I mean, if one of those guys was, if you didn't have Ric Flair and Bob Backlund and just legitimate
Piper,
yeah,
if it was Scotty Too Hottie, Grandmaster Sexay,
yeah, the Godfather, even Rikishi, yeah, you could have gotten away with it.
You could have got away with it, but you can't say, "Oh, they're not going to remember your names" when you got a 2-time Hall of Famer and
it's supposed to get heat, and I get it.
But it didn't.
But
it didn't.
It didn't get heat.
So,
and at least not in my opinion.
No, and I agree with you 100%. And then last but not least, Roman Reigns defeats CM Punk in the last match of the evening. Good match.
This was, yeah. Well, I mean, Roman Reigns always delivers in the ring. We've talked about this. We talked about this tonight. And then CM Punk is CM Punk
now, but Roman Reigns still delivers in the ring. I've never said Roman Reigns is a bad.
You just don't like it. You just didn't like his style, and I get that. You don't like the formulaic aspect.
Thank you. I don't like the formulaic, predictable.
But do you like Bret Hart? Bret Hart did the same thing. So does Randy Orton. So does John Cena. Wrestling's all about predictability. Like
Cena drives me nuts now.
You have to be predictable because that's how you pop the fans.
Yeah.
And so the RKO out of nowhere, Stunner out of nowhere, those were always very popular. But I mean, when The Rock went for the rock bottom, he grabbed him in that hold and basically
had but you know what though?
Before he slammed him.
Here's the thing. That was the only time The Rock would really do anything. I mean, the rock bottom was a quick.
No, that's what I'm talking about is the rock bottom. The rock bottom, he would grab them and hold them. And you could go get lunch in the time it took between that and the slam.
But it seems like Roman, for everything he does, he has a huge production for the spear, a huge production for the Superman punch. It just, that's where it was getting, and the multiple times in a match, that's where I'm having a problem with it.
Right.
It's every time you're going to do the Superman punch, it's
not every time.
It's the majority. I mean
every time Shawn Michaels did Sweet Chin Music, he stomped his foot. You know why he stomped his foot, right? Loaded boot. I'm telling you. I guarantee you that was the origin behind that.
Really?
I guarantee it. Why else would you do that?
Well, that's true.
He had a loaded boot.
Was it to tune up the band?
Yeah, he was tuning up the band. He was getting the metal weight down to the bottom of his shoe, so when he kicked you in the face, knocked you the hell out.
And
never convince me otherwise.
And then, of course, for me, and I remember watching this live, when this Raw happened, and a true surprise.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he had been persona non grata for so many years because of his drug habit.
Yep.
And his drug habit causing him to behave like a complete ass in public.
Once again.
And then came DDP.
Yep.
And DDP saved his life. And of course, we are talking about Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yes.
And go ahead.
I literally remember watching this live, and when his music hit, I popped in my living room. I mean, it was.
Did you clean up afterwards?
I didn't throw anything this time. But no, it's very rare, especially in today's day and age of the internet and the dirt sheets and everything, to truly be surprised.
If we could ignore the internet, the Sting showing up at Survivor Series, and then Brock Lesnar coming back in 2012. These were big surprises that were spoiled by the fact that we look at the internet.
Yeah.
And I remember talking about popping in your living room. 2005. Well, not your living room, my living room. 2005. Shawn Michaels is getting ready to face Hulk Hogan in the build-up to SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
And he's healing it up. And dude, you're on camera.
I know. No, I'm researching something.
Don't be rude. He's healing it up. And he says, I screwed Bret Hart.
Yeah.
And given the chance, I would screw him again. And then Bret's music played.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I popped. And then it was fake. And then it happened again.
Yeah.
And I popped again.
Well, I mean, that's
he got
you
me twice.
You and me sitting at the 2002 Royal Rumble, and Mr. Perfect shows up.
Well, Mr. Perfect was advertised.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was. Mr. Perfect yes, he was. Mr. Perfect,
I don't
Godfather,
remember that.
Val Venus. They had all been advertised on Raw as returning.
I don't remember that at all.
Well, you just don't remember it, but it happened.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, it was, and you know what the funny part was, and what I think made Jake's return so special, though, is it had been so long.
1997.
And that a lot of those people who were there heard that music hit and had no clue who the hell was coming out.
Well, right. And I mean, that's kind of problematic because you go for that big surprise in the main event slot. This is your closing slot. And no one knows who's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate them rewarding Jake Roberts with that because that's what that was.
Well, and then a couple months later, he got his nod for the Hall.
Yes. And that was them saying, good job, welcome home, here you go. And can I say it should have been Stone Cold? I mean, is that okay? Does that make me a bad person? That it should have been Stone Cold in that spot. If they were gonna have somebody come out and make one of your top heels look like a jackass for getting beat up by an old man, at least have it be Stone Cold.
No, I get it. It didn't fit. Knowing a little bit of the
back, it worked, but
it did. But knowing a little bit of the backstory on this one too, though, if you watch that final segment and you see Jake put Damian on top of Dean Ambrose, Dean Ambrose is doing everything within his power not to like shit-eating from ear to ear grin on his face.
Oh yeah,
because Jake was his favorite wrestler growing up as a kid.
And I mean, and then you've got the it also makes sense from the aspect of Dean Ambrose's finisher is a DDT.
Exactly.
And so it makes sense from that aspect, but from no other aspect, story-wise or otherwise.
Once again,
make any sense to have.
Smarks it makes sense. Non-smarks, what's going on?
Well, I mean, Smarks will do the research and figure out and put those two and two together.
Exactly.
And whereas the normal fan just wants to be entertained, so sure they popped when Jake DDT'd him because Dean Ambrose was a bad guy and got beat up, and then he got a snake put on him, and that's cool, and the kids dug that, But why Jake?
Yeah.
Like why not the Outlaws? Why didn't they come back out? So I mean, I get it. I understand. I don't hate on nostalgia pops like just for the sake of doing it. Yeah. I just don't like current guys having to show their ass for the sake of a veteran getting a cheap pop.
And we went over that thoroughly in the lightning round. I mean, we both agree. So, all right, man. Well, that was it for this day in wrestling. Can't wait for next week's. We got to kind of go through and take a look and see what interesting event happened.
January 13th.
January 13th. So we'll go back into the Pro Wrestling Almanac archives and we'll take a look and see what we can pull
Very
up.
incomplete archives because I'm doing it all myself. If anybody wants to help, I could use some help.
Don't look at me.
I know. I can't help it, dude. You take up the entire screen.
That is true. That is true. So, all right, man. Well, that's it.
Make sure you check out our Facebook page, PW Almanac, also on Twitter. And you can get a hold of if you want to talk to me or Mike. I'm on Twitter at Hathaway Tristan, and Mike is
at Blind Fenway.
So if you want to hit either of us up on Twitter, we're gonna start. I told Mike he had to start using Twitter. Also Instagram. I'm Tristan Hathaway 1. Mike is
LA Kings fan 1982.
Is that what that says? I thought it was Lakings, and I didn't make any sense to me.
LA. See, here's the problem.
It makes so much sense.
Growing up a diehard Kings fan, I have to deal with a lot of people who have been lifelong Kings fans since 2012 when we won our first cup.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to my first Kings game in 1982 when I was born. I was literally like 4 months old, and my dad took me to, at the time, it was just the Forum, not the Great Western Forum, to my first Kings game, and I've been a Kings fan ever since then. So that's my.
I'm sure you remember that game vividly.
Oh yes, of course. Kings were wearing their Forum blue and gold. Marcel Dion was still playing for the team.
Like, it didn't make any sense. I'm like, the Lakers, like why does it say Lakings? They're the Lakers. And now it makes so much sense. I'm the LA Kings fan. I'm very glad that you spelled that out for me, because I honestly did not get it.
LA Kings fan 1982.
Maybe if you used like capitalization on things.
I thought I did, but
you did not.
Whatever. Remember, I went to Catholic school. They didn't teach me to learn how to read or write. They taught me how to drink and fear shit.
And whooped you if you were left-handed.
Exactly. So, all right, guys. Well, that's it. The ref's giving us the 10 count. So, for Tristan, I'm Mike. This was the Pro Wrestling Almanac podcast, and we'll
New and improved,
and hopefully improved.
We'll see you again when the bell rings.